Hey class, I know you are so excited to come to the classifying triangles by angles tutorial. So let's get into it. Well, why do you need to know this? Well, it's going to help you figure out the angles of the triangle. Knowing this now will help work out the specific angles in intermediate grades in high school. So eventually you'll have to know and be able to tell me what each angle is in the triangle. And knowing this will help you know if your answer is right or incorrect. So later on down the road, you'll be thanking me. There are 4 steps that I've been trying to take to make sure we're classifying them properly. Number 1, we're going to look for a right angle. And if we see one, then it's a right triangle. So right angles, again, are anything that looks like an L, right? Like that, maybe like that, or like that. Anything with an L shape, 90 degrees. Step 2, we're going to look for an obtuse angle, and if we see one, then guess what? It's an obtuse triangle. An obtuse angle might look like this, or it might look like that. Anything where, if you take a look and you have an imaginary L right like that, it's going beyond it. It's going beyond what the L would look like. So greater than 90 degrees. If there are no right or obtuse angles, then, well, they have to all be acute angles. And we call it, and appropriately enough, an acute triangle, or an acute angled triangle. Step 4 I put in there, you want to check to make sure, because sometimes an angle, when you first look at it, might look to be, for example, an acute angle, but if you actually spin that page around, you might realize, or twist your head around, you might realize it's actually maybe a right angle, or maybe it looks like a right angle, and if you spin it around, it might really turn out to be an acute angle. So always check and twist your head and spin the page just to make sure. So let's take these steps and see if we can identify these following triangles right here. So number 1, I'm going to look for a right angle number 1. Nope, that's not an L. No, not 90 degrees. No. Okay, so step 2, let's look for an obtuse angle. And nope, but look, if this was an imaginary right angle here, it looks like it's getting larger, like it's going past that. So it's an obtuse triangle, an obtuse angle, and therefore we call it an obtuse triangle. Check. Awesome. So let's move on to this one right here. Step 1, look for a right angle. That doesn't look like an L or a 90-degree angle. Not there either. Would be right like that. This one, I have to tilt my head just a little bit just to make sure. And after doing that, I'm realizing it's not an acute right angle. So I'm going to look for an obtuse angle, and that looks small, and it looks like a small angle. Pac-Man closing, we call it, as a small angle, less than 90, so it's not an obtuse angle. So there are no right and no obtuse. They all have to be an acute angle. So acute angle, acute angle, acute angle, yeah. So all 3 are acute. So it's an acute triangle. Last but not least, this one here. Let's start at the start again. Let's look for a right angle. So this one looks to be an acute angle. This one right here looks less than 90 as well. But this one right here, if we take a look right here, this looks to be a perfect L, a 90-degree angle. So since it's 90 degrees, a right angle, we're going to call it a right angle or a right triangle. So we have taken those 4 steps to do those pretty well. So let's try to do this last question right here. Luke claims that this is an acute triangle. Why is he correct or incorrect? Well, let's take the steps right now. I'm taking a look and I'm looking for a right angle. Nope. So it's not a right angle triangle. I'm looking for an obtuse angle, and I don't see one here or here or here. So when I take a look, this is an acute angle, an acute angle, an acute angle. They are all acute in this triangle. So Luke is correct because they're all less than 90 degrees. They are all acute angles. Luke, way to go.